Hello, good morning. It is February 4th at 9:21 a.m. We are at home doing e-learning today because there was a gigantic snowstorm. It is Thursday. We should be in school on a day like this. And this entire week we should have been in school and we haven't been. And so since it is the beginning of a new semester, this is a very challenging way to get to know you guys and give you more new information. You don't know really me. You don't really know what I expect. And so I just want to try to give you something really quick that might get you going. And by the way, if you can't figure out, make any sense of anything I'm saying, don't worry too much about it. We're just trying this week to just dabble a little bit. So anyway, on your Schoology course page for Introduction to Engineering Design, go to the Start Here folder and Announcements. And I like to open announcements into a new tab. And then today is not Monday, February 1st. Today is, oh, notice those days are grayed out because they didn't exist due to snow. And then here is Thursday, February 4th, which is today. Thursday, February 4th, 2021, Block 1 IED. That's you guys. Nice to meet you. I hope soon. What's late? Nothing. We haven't had any assignments yet. What are we doing this week? Monday, we tried to do an intro for regular homeschool. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, we didn't really do anything because we were shoveling snow. It was a lot of snow. And then Thursday and Friday, I thought we would be in school today, but they did cancel physical school, but they said that we're still doing online school and that we have to post assignments for you, which I have done, and I want to try to give you some information on how to do this stuff. So anyway, today, Thursday, and tomorrow, 113 concept sketching. This is from the Project Lead the Way website. I'll show you that in just a moment. It's 1.1.3. The first assignment we're doing, we're skipping the first two in the curriculum, but this concept sketching really is one of my favorites, and you are either going to love it or hate it depending on your sort of interest in pen on paper sketching. What's due this weekend? Well, nothing. Ordinarily 113 would be due this weekend, but we're not going to worry about that. We'll make it due the following weekend. And then what are we doing next week? We were going to do 113 plus this week. In other words, I was going to have an additional assignment that builds on the original assignment. Didn't have time to do that this week. You might not even have time to do the 113 this week. So next week, I'm going to try to continue 113 as a plus assignment. And then what else? I want you to really believe these two things, especially if, when, will. If I fail, you fail. No, I got that backwards. If you fail, I fail. When you succeed, I succeed, and we will succeed together. And then whatever works, this is engineering, and we have some strange circumstances, some strange challenges and constraints and things of that nature. And so, however, how do we deal with this? Well, we have to come up with systems and solutions, and whatever works for you to do these assignments. You can tell me, Mr. Bing, the assignment doesn't make sense. Can I do it this way? I'm almost always going to say yes. And then also my classroom is a mess. Please help me clean it. And then when you go to the Project Lead the Way website, you're going to need a password. You'll need a username too. I hope you got an email from me with your username. And the password for everybody is lowercase PLTW 2021. Okay, so rewind this video if what I said was too rapid. Now back to the Start Here folder. Project Lead the Way IED course page. You get a frowny page. It will not open within Schoology, so you have to open it in a new tab. And in that course page, you can search through and find 111, 112, 113. That is today's assignment or this week's assignment. 113 concept sketching. And this assignment has goals that you have to put into your notebook. I'll show you that in just a moment. It doesn't really have materials, but we'll look at that. And then it has all these resources. Some of these resources you have to view and review, and some of them you have to take notes on. I'll tell you which ones you have to do that in just a moment, which ones you have to take notes on. The steps themselves, some of these steps I'm requiring you to do, some of them I'm not. You have to document in your notebook either that you've done these steps, taken the notes of the information. Oh, I forgot these bold clickable terms. Those are definitions that I'd like you to click on. And then write down that definition into your notebook. Basically, you have to make a record of the information here on this page. And I'll show you that in a moment when I show you my notebook simulator. So step one would be to watch that video, make note of that in your notebook. Orthographic view, there's a note for you to take. And then it says read and review engineering notebook. That is one of the resources above. I'll talk about how to document that in your notebook in just a moment. Step three, review sketching tips guide, another resource for you to look at. It does say make a quick sketch. So that is something that you're actually going to have to do beyond just reading and making a note of that. And then step 4 is to make 2 or more objects, to sketch 2 or more objects of these. And if you don't like these, pick another one. I'll show you my notebook in just a moment. Here's what I call an infographic. Look at that. You don't have to take notes on it, but make sure you look at it. Actually, you might have to take a note on that. I'll look at my engineering notebook with you in just a moment. And then there's 5, 6, 7, and 8. I want you to skip all those just because of time. And then step 9 is sketching more, to at least 2 more of those objects. And then there's career connections I want you to skip. Reflection question I want you to answer, and then conclusion questions I want you to answer. So I told you all those things, and you're probably thinking, I have no idea what you're talking about, Mr. Bing. So let me show you my engineering notebook simulator. You should have an engineering notebook. Actually, you probably don't have one because I haven't given you one, but eventually, maybe even today, you'll have an engineering notebook. And when you do, all the work that I just described from the Project Lead the Way course page is going to have to be documented in your notebook. And in your engineering notebook, there is at least the first 2 pages are table of contents. And every time you have a new assignment, you have to document that assignment in the table of contents. And so I've done 2 of these already. And so I want you to see that I've dated for when I did them. You date when you did them or started them. The title of the assignment themselves, 113 Concept Sketching, and the page number that it starts on. Notice this one starts on page 1. The next one starts on page 6. So that means that this first assignment must have taken up page 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so when we go to, in my simulator, when we go to the second tab over from the table of contents, you see that there are all these notebook pages, simulations of them, notebook pages laid out in this fashion. And so if you want to zoom in, which of course you should be doing that, zoom in and see, what do I have in here? I have the title, the page number, first page of the notebook clearly, and then I wrote down the goals. All of this blue italicized text, that is my simulation of your handwriting with a pen on paper. So here's the goals that came right out of the course page from Project Lead the Way. The goals, I wrote those down into the notebook. And then the materials, the materials, I wrote it down just because they had it here, but it says various objects to sketch. I mean, okay. Materials, I think more of like equipment and tools. And then there's resources. Now, remember, there are all these resources, and only a couple of them are really relevant to me. I don't want to say that they're all irrelevant, but I have to focus on what's really important here. And those things are Sketching Tips Guide and Engineering Notebook. So when you click on, and I'm not going to, but when you click on Sketching Tips Guide and Engineering Notebook, it will either open up a new page or give you a PowerPoint or some sort of download for you to look at. And so for me, I said Sketching Tips Guide, review only, notes not necessary. That's important because you don't want to write an insane amount of notes. And so there are a lot of notes you have to write. This one you do not. Just review it, try to understand it the best you can. Engineering Notebook, that resource, review only, notes not necessary. And then all the other resources are not necessary. Look at them as you choose, but don't feel like you have to, and don't feel like you have to take any notes or make any documentation of it. And then there's this, apparently I started doing notes from the content of the assignment itself, visualization through images. Well, visualization through images is right here. And I mentioned taking notes from the text. Yes, of course you have to do that, but oftentimes you will find these definitions that are an easy way to cheat your notes. In other words, so I don't know what to write. Well, click on these terms and then you'll have something relevant and easy to document. So notice I documented 2 definitions there. When I got to the end of the page, I signed it with, this is a simulation, signed it with my handwritten pen. I had it witnessed by someone who could say, yeah, that's his work and it looks good. And then I dated it. And if there were any team members, I would put those here. And then if this is not the end of this assignment, it has to be continued. And where is it continued? On page 2? Well, here is page 2. The title again, the page number again. And then this looks like a continuation of the notes that I was taking from the Project Lead the Way course page. And another, this looks like a pretty lengthy note that comes from, looks like it comes right from there. And then the actual procedure. Now, remember, step 1 was a video. Watch it. So you write down in your notebook, watch concept sketching video. This sort of documents, verifies that you did watch it. And then there is a definition in it that I want you to put down on paper. Step 2 says read and review engineering notebook best practices. That's it. You just write down read and review engineering notebook best practices. That documents that you did that step. And then step 3, review sketching tips guide, and which of course you write down, you do, and then you write down. And then it also, in that particular step, it says to sketch a tape dispenser. Boom, there's a sketch. You would make your sketch on your paper. Going on to the third page of the engineering notebook, my third page, step 4, sketch the front view of 2 objects. Look, I did that. There's 2 objects and I sketched them. And then there is some sort of, what is this? Review figure 1, review figure 1, review, I guess this is figure 1. They call it figure 1. I called it an infographic. Review figure 1, choosing best front view example. So notice I made a note that it exists, meaning that I looked at it, the infographic figure 1. But then there was also a note underneath it. I thought maybe there wasn't. Where did I get that note? A front view refers to, let me see. A front view refers to a front, oh, there it is. No, a front view refers to. And so I made a note of that in the engineering notebook. Skip steps 5 through 8. You don't just skip them, you make a note, you document that you skipped them. Sign and witness the bottom, date it, list your team members. Is this continued? It is on page 4. Page 4, title page, step 9, sketch these 2 objects. Look, I sketched 2 objects, you'll sketch your own. And then I indicated we're skipping career connections. And then there is the reflection question, which I did not answer, but you obviously would have to answer it on your page. A lot of times people like to, instead of writing the question and the answer, they just rephrase the question as an answer. And where it says, how do you imagine sketching will impact your career? You could just start a paragraph. I imagine sketching impacting my career in this way. And you would finish that prompt. Conclusion questions, the same thing. There are 3 of them. If there is any space anywhere on an assignment page, big blank open space, you have to draw a diagonal line through it and sign it to consume that space. So you can't come back and add to that space. You would start a new entry. Okay, so going back to the Schoology course page, we have the announcements we looked at. Look those over carefully. We have the Project Lead the Way course page. Yes, that's where all of your work will come from. We looked at the Engineering Notebook Simulator. Look at that. The Engineering Notebook Simulator, a lot of people like this because it's really hard to figure out what is it that Mr. Bing wants to see when he looks at your notebook. And this is a visual guide. Yours will be different than mine, but if you're wondering what does yours need to look like, something like that. I really like this for people that aren't sure how their notebook should look. Also, the IED Spring 2021 playlist on YouTube. Click on that. Look at all the videos that I've posted there. They're just introductory on all the things I just told you. Hall pass sign out, we'll worry about that when you're actually in school. You will have to, when you're done with assignments and ready to turn them in, you don't give me your notebook, you don't give me any paper, you scan it. Here's instructions on how to scan. Here's a video on scanning itself, and then obviously a Zoom link. So I'm going to wrap this up super quick, and I will see you in the next recording, or I will see you in school, actually, which would be nice. Okay, bye-bye.